Hello everyone, this is Brocoder here, and today we have a problem that I got from Code Wars called Arrayception. And in Arrayception, what we want to do is essentially find the deepest array within an array. So for this example, we find eight arrays deep in this array. So there's 8 arrays before we find 5, and that's what we want to return is the depth, the deepest depth within an array. And so we have a function that we'll create to do that. And for that function, we already know, because of the kind of problem it is, that we need to recurse. So first, before we even tackle the recursive function, let's first create a variable called answer, and we should set that equal to 0. And we already know that that's the variable that contains the answer, so we want to return that variable at the end. Return. It's always a good habit to do this, just because you will never forget to not return. Since we know it's a recursive function, we should probably call the function that we're going to create that will recurse, or will be called over and over within this array, recurse, just so that we know exactly what it's doing. And so we want to set that equal to a function. And the arguments within that function should be array and depth. And this is, so what's going on is this is being called within the array. And until we hit a non-array item, it'll just be called upon until we get that. And we should increment the depth. So that's how we're going to record the depth. So first, let's create an if statement. And we want to say, like, if something is not an array, we should probably stop recursing. And if it is, we should call the recursive function and keep essentially incrementing depth until we hit the bottom of an array. So we should probably create an if statement saying if it's an array, we should probably call back upon the recursive function. So there's our, we should probably, before that though, we should probably create a for loop so we can traverse from this array to that array. So for loop, for var r length, right? And there's our array. So we want to create an if statement here. If array dot is array, and then we want to put that around that. So we're saying essentially, hey, is this an array? And if it is, we should probably call back the recursive function, essentially going, oh, okay, now recurse with recurse, and we should probably put the input of array. So this is our new array now. So we should probably put that in here, array I. And we want the depth to increment. So this is where we want to increment it. And usually I go, so you want to put the depth and then plus 1. So we're adding 1 to the depth every time we call upon recurse within here. So now we have our if statement. Now we need our else statement. So our else is essentially, hey, look, if I've hit the bottom, what should I do? And we want answer to equal depth. So that looks pretty good. So essentially we're pulling out the depth number, we're setting that equal to answer over here, and our answer value now is being returned. So at the bottom, we want to call recurse to and then 1. So there we go. So that looks correct. And let's see if that's correct. So we're getting a value of 8. So this has 8 deep. So 5 is 8 deep in this array. So it's pretty deep. Now the problem with this solution is answer is set equal to depth, the depth of the last array. And that's great if your last array is your deepest array, but if we put 0 here, right, and that's too deep right there, this answer is going to be equal to 2. And that's not what we want. We want the deepest array. So how do we fix answer so that the deepest depth is kept by answer, not just the last depth? And this, I was stuck with this problem for quite some time trying to figure that out. And what we need to do is math max. So math max takes inputs and only returns the highest value. So essentially, if answer here was 8, right, it was 8 here. If this is 2, what's going to happen is depth is 2, answer is 8, and what's going to happen is answer will still equal 8, even if the last value is 2. So let's check that. Bang. There we go. And that's how you fix that. And I was stuck with that for quite some time until I figured out, hey, we need a math max. So that's Arrayception, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.